Hello everyone, today I want to tell you a 1993 American coming-of-age drama movie called What's Eating Gilbert Grape. The movie was directed by Lasse Hallström. What's Eating Gilbert Grape was based on the novel by Peter Hedges. Peter Hedges also wrote some books and Ocean in Law about A Boy the Heights and all of these amazing books. The movie What's Eating Gilbert Grape also stars Johnny Depp and Leonardo DiCaprio, Darlene Cates, Juliette Lewis, Laura Harrington, and Mary-Kate Shellhart. Johnny Depp plays Gilbert Grape and Arnie Grape plays Leonardo DiCaprio. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Hope the way I tell the story can be learned from, and let's get into the movie. The movie begins in the small town called Andorra, where two brothers named Gilbert Grape and Arnie Grape who are waiting for arrival of the circus that's camping at their town. Waiting for the circus is an annual ritual for both of them. Gilbert's in charge of looking after his little brother Arnie, who is mentally challenged and has childlike intelligence. Every day Arnie would put a grasshopper through the mailbox and then he would slam the mailbox and the grasshopper's head fell off. By 2 minutes later he would regret it and start crying. He felt bad and guilty for killing a living thing. Gilbert and Arnie live in a town called Andorra, but in this town called Andorra the population is more than 100 people and nothing else interesting happens in this town. Gilbert and his family live in the house their great-grandfather built for them. The house is a private house on the outskirts. We're then introduced to the rest of the Grape family. Gilbert introduces himself and the rest of his family. His little brother Arnie is not normal like other people and he loves to climb trees. The oldest sibling Amy handles all the household cooking and cleaning, and she's forced to replace the children's mother. As for the youngest sister, Ellen is constantly bullied at school. Ellen is not happy about their family and she doesn't get along with Gilbert. And instead she focuses on her appearance to divert herself from her broken family life. The Grape family is struggling and they are all a broken family because of their mother. Bonnie, who was once incredibly beautiful, is now depressed and morbidly obese. And she weighs 1,000 pounds and she lives on their couch eating nonstop and watching TV. Gilbert and his siblings are not permitted to leave Andorra. Gilbert's mother Bonnie has been obese for the last 7 years. She ate nothing but fast food and junk food. Basically, Bonnie had been sitting idly for many years collecting unemployment benefits, doing nothing but eating non-stop, sleeping and watching TV. Now mother looked even more bigger than a 1,000-ton, well, at least that's what Gilbert said. But this wasn't the first time this had happened. You see, his mother had actually been a bathing suit model. She was the prettiest woman in Andorra. In the whole town, she literally won hundreds of beauty pageants 5 years in a row and became rich from it. Everyone would stop her in the streets to tell her how beautiful she was. And in the mother's side of the family, beauty pageants ran in the family, but 7 years ago her husband decided to commit suicide by hanging himself in the basement of their house. Due to this, the mother pulled Amy, Gilbert, and Arnie out of school because they had to take care of her. The mother stopped leaving the house and gained hundreds and thousands of pounds, becoming bedbound for the last 7 years. And now the mother, Bonnie, didn't leave the house since 7 years and is morbidly obese. The depression caused her to eat a lot and become like this. Due to this, the children are forced to fend for themselves and take care of everything. And now the responsibility of taking care of our Arnie fell on Gilbert's shoulders. Now Arnie's ready to celebrate his 18th birthday, which is coming very soon. Therefore, the entire family's busy preparing for his birthday celebration. Arnie is Bonnie's favorite child and Gilbert's favorite brother. Every day Arnie would join Gilbert to work. Gilbert works at a small grocery store nearby and Arnie joins him there every day while Ellen's school on the other side. Ellen's school was next to Gilbert's workplace. Gilbert did several jobs, including delivering orders at the store. The store owner is worried because the New Islanders of Andorra opened a new supermarket called Foodland. Because of this, the store developed a bad reputation and began to lose customers, and soon they will be forced to close down soon. One afternoon, Gilbert is asked to deliver some groceries to a customer named M.R. Carver, who was the mayor of Andorra. The mayor was 102 years old and he also worked for an insurance company. Gilbert went to deliver the groceries to M.R. Carver and Gilbert took Arnie with him. Upon reaching there, Gilbert asks Arnie to wait in the car and Gilbert went to talk with Betty Carbert, who was the mayor's granddaughter. Betty asked her younger siblings to play outside. Betty thanks Gilbert for bringing her family groceries. And Gilbert and Betty start to make out and feed each other ice cream, and it turns out they've been secretly girlfriend and boyfriend this whole time. As they're feeding each other ice cream, they suddenly stop when Mr. Carbert arrived home. The man didn't suspect anything and even gave Gilbert a cash tip for bringing them groceries. Mr. Carbert also asked Gilbert to stop by his office to have a meeting. As Gilbert's about to leave, he's surprised to see that Arnie's not in the car. Meanwhile, the police show up and it's discovered that Arnie is climbing the water tower, which has become his new habit. Since Arnie loves to climb trees, he thought the water tower was a big tree that he could climb. Arnie climbed the water tower and refused to come down. Dozens of people from the town gathered to watch. When the police asked Arnie to come down using the megaphone, he ignored them and intended to climb to the very top. But Gilbert arrived and sang Arnie a song which makes him come down. Everyone around them applauded. Gilbert apologized to the police and promises this will not happen again. But the sheriff of Endora named Jerry warned Gilbert if Arnie did it again, they were going to arrest Arnie because Arnie had climbed the towers several times before. After a few days, but Gilbert promised this would not happen again. In the evening, Bonnie, who had learned about what had happened, hugged her son Arnie and asked him never to run away again. Soon the family had dinner and talked about the preparations for Arnie's 18th birthday, and as usual, Ellen starts to argue with the family, especially with Gilbert for not coming up with any ideas. Later, Gilbert's best friend Tucker, who is a repairman, shows up to repair some broken electronics. As Gilbert and Tucker are working on the repairs, Ellen was returning home from school and Ellen's bullies were following her home. One of the bullies trespassed their property and peeked through their windows while hoping to see Bonnie through the window and ran to tell his friends about it. Apparently, it turns out in Endora, Bonnie's state of severe obesity is a joke and a laughingstock even towards really young children. Due to Ellen's broken family life and her obese mother, Ellen is often constantly bullied at school. Ellen is not good in a single subject and also fails in sports and other subjects at school. Ellen believes that she doesn't have a bright future. And it's all because of her broken family life and her mother. They never have time to pay attention or support her effort. Ellen is always laughed at by her classmates. Even the teachers disliked her and even let her get close. One time during class, the teacher dropped her pen, so Ellen helped the teacher pick it up. But the teacher gave her a big slap in front of everyone and asked Ellen to leave the pen on the ground, and she was sent to detention again for no reason. And the principal didn't do anything about it, but Gilbert and Tucker believe this is inappropriate since it only encourages his mother's humiliation. Gilbert always takes care of Arnie, bathing him and putting Arnie to bed every night. The next day, a young woman named Becky enters Gilbert's store where he works to do some grocery shopping. Becky and her grandma on the circus and they're camping at Endora. Gilbert is captivated by her beauty and the two long gazes as she passes. And because there were a lot of groceries, Gilbert is asked to take Becky home and he texts Arnie with him. When they return from Becky's circus, Gilbert and Arnie join the family for dinner, and as usual, they went back to discussing Arnie's 18th birthday plans. Suddenly, Arnie began to behave aggressively and said, "Dad dead." Arnie just said that dead, which reminds the family of their dead father and how he killed himself in the basement. Arnie continues to repeat it and start banging on the table. The siblings try to make him stop, but he continues. The mother got angry and ordered him to shut up, which makes him cry. Bonnie doesn't know how to handle a child like Arnie, so she gets angry. The situation in the family is becoming more and more tense. The cause of this is Arnie, who cannot control himself. A dark cloud lurks over the family as Arnie's reckless behavior continues. Arnie cries as his mother yells at him, especially since Arnie doesn't understand that the suicide of his father wasn't a laughing matter. Bonnie was so angry and stomped too hard that she caused an earthquake and nearly broke the floor a little more harder, and the woman could have fallen through the floor. And in that moment, Amy and Gilbert realized that the floor of their house, which was connected to the basement where Bonnie was sitting, seems to be in danger. So they make another call to Tucker to check their basement so that their mother doesn't find out. At that time, Amy had to go check on him, but they get scared as the floor starts creaking owing to Bonnie's walking above them. Tucker warns them that the basement wood is hundreds of years old and the floor will collapse if Bonnie keeps gaining more weight. He then leaves and promises to return the next day with more wood to repair the house. After Tucker leaves, Amy and Gilbert clean up the mess in the house. They didn't want to wake their mother knowing she's going through a difficult period while the mother was sleeping on the couch watching television. Amy advises her to go on a diet and lose some weight, but Bonnie refuses, claiming that she's more comfortable being obese. It turns out Bonnie's body makes it impossible for her to climb stairs, and she has not entered her room in years because it's a memory of her husband. She does nothing but eat non-stop, sleeping and watching TV. She now weighs 1,000 pounds. She refused to exercise at all, spending most of her day and night on the couch completely motionless. Gilbert did literally everything to encourage her to take only a few steps in the room, but she always refused. She refused to walk, did not read any information about a healthy diet. It never saw a doctor or a therapist, even when threatened by death. She refused to leave the house, spending all her days eating and being lazy, totally disconnected from the outside world, and she had literally led an almost hermetically sealed existence, locked away from the world for almost 7 years. The next day, Gilbert was talking to his friends Tucker and Bobby at a diner, and Arnie was playing with an arcade. Meanwhile, Betty, her parents, her siblings, and her grandpa were sitting at a nearby table. For a moment, Betty and Gilbert were exchanging glances. Mr. Carver reminded Gilbert of the meeting tomorrow. Later, Gilbert and Tucker are doing repairs in the basement so that the mom doesn't find out, and they were finishing the repairs. But Arnie, who cannot keep quiet, was going to say Dad's dead again. Gilbert knew that the mother will get angry again and their secret would be discovered, so Gilbert had to distract his brother. Tucker can't take it anymore watching Gilbert go back and forth. Instead of offering to help him because of that, Tucker had to do the work alone. Tucker reinforced the basement and fixed the basement. Now the floor can support an elephant. Tucker apologized to Gilbert. He forgot that Gilbert's father used to love to work in the basement and the same place where the father had hung himself. However, Gilbert doesn't like it how Arnie made fun of their father's death, and they apologize. A few hours later, Ellen caught Arnie, who was about to climb the water tower again. Gilbert notices this, and after that, Arnie doesn't seem to give up and continues. However, Ellen knocks Arnie down and starts hitting him. But Gilbert arrived in time and had to separate them. Gilbert blames Ellen, but she curses back and says this is the only way to make Arnie stop climbing the water tower. But Gilbert told Ellen that no one's allowed to raise a finger to Arnie. He asks her to leave and he takes Arnie inside the shop to treat his wounds. Ellen didn't want Arnie to bother everyone again and causes a scene. So when she got home from school, Ellen reported the incident to Amy, the oldest sibling. Soon Gilbert and Arnie return with the groceries from the store where he works, only tends to have he finds interested, and Amy is always troubled because of this. Amy asked Gilbert to take care of Arnie, and she asks Arnie to remain at home and to not go anywhere. Ever since Gilbert couldn't keep his eyes on Bonnie is when she became lazy and led to this unhealthy lifestyle. Ever since she became bedbound, Amy, Arnie, and Ellen have become the person Bonnie calls whenever she wants food. Gilbert tries so hard to make his siblings understand that they had to stop encouraging Bonnie's laziness. They have keys to the house and will not hesitate to help the mother with anything. He's glad to have someone helping the mother in case of an emergency, but a lot of things they did actually went against the support. They're indirectly helping her commit suicide by buying fast food for her, bring it to her bed, and even feeding her. Bonnie used to be able to go to the front door to pick up goods from the drivers, but now thanks to Gilbert's siblings' spoilage, Bonnie's weight increased more. She doesn't want to and can't walk because she's too fat. She began needing the children's help to get up and use a cane so she can walk. She has lots of sores and cracks on her skin. She also can't clean herself because she's too fat to reach every part of her body. That's why she needs the children to do it for her, including cleaning her own feces. Gilbert tried many times to say that he really appreciates the help of the siblings, but if they truly love their mother, it would be better if they could cook some healthy meals for her instead of always ordering whatever she wants. Gilbert gave his siblings some money to buy healthy food, but he had to stop immediately when he found out they were only using it to buy more fast food and sweets for Bonnie. When Bonnie said she was hungry, she needed to eat huge portions to feel full. One time, Gilbert decided his family to have a healthy salad for dinner. When he told Bonnie they were skipping dessert, he heard her stomach growl at him. However, the next day, Gilbert and his siblings found the fridge open and all of the food was gone. Bags of chips were open and nothing was left, and empty bottles of juice and soda were left everywhere, and Gilbert found his mother on the couch stuffing her face with a huge tub of ice cream. The mother had eaten everything in the house, including Ellen's homework. She was like an elephant in a china shop. After the groceries are over, Gilbert decides to go for a drive hit and approaches the place where Becky's circus tent was set up. Becky invites Gilbert to have lunch with her and her grandma, and she offers him some watermelon. Becky's grandma told Gilbert how Becky and her owned the circus and they traveled the whole world, while Gilbert becomes embarrassed by the fact that he never left an Andorra in 7 years. After lunch, they talked about various topics. Becky asked Gilbert about his future plans, but he doesn't know how to respond because he doesn't know what to do in such a small town. Gilbert offers Becky a tour around the town and they have ice cream, and Gilbert introduces Becky to Ellen. And Betty notices them and becomes jealous. A few hours later, they go to the field to watch the sunset, but suddenly Gilbert realizes that it's Arnie's bath time, so their date might have to be canceled. When he gets home, Gilbert's in charge of bathing his brother like a child. The only way to save the date and to get back to Becky, he told Arnie that he's old enough to take his own bath, to which he agrees. After teaching Arnie how to turn off the taps and get out of the bathtub, he goes back to Becky. Becky told Gilbert how her parents divorced when she was young. Since then, she'd been living with her grandma in the circus and traveling the whole world. Actually, Becky wanted to visit Gilbert's house, but Gilbert refused and said that the house was small from above. But if you go there, it's much bigger. In fact, he's offending his obese mother. He's again ashamed of his mother and compares her to a whale stranded on the shore. Becky also asked about Gilbert's father, but he would tell her another time. Gilbert and Becky have a fun night together. The next day, when Gilbert returned home from Becky, he found the whole house flooded with water. It turns out Arnie was too stubborn to get out of the bathtub or turn off the taps. He stayed 24 hours in the bathtub and he wasted all the water bills and flooded the whole house. The entire family gone to a horrible fight, and now Arnie developed a phobia of water. Bonnie blames Gilbert for not even handling such an easy task, but Gilbert doesn't dare argue and keeps apologizing. His mother tells him apologies are useless, you need to do better. But Gilbert just apologized and went to work. Later that day, he had a meeting with the mayor and told Betty that they were breaking up. Later that night, the family watched a touching film at home, and Bonnie made Amy get up 6 times to refill the family-sized popcorn tub. While they were watching the film, Ellen arrived and informed them that the mayor passed away. So Gilbert and Arnie arrive at the mayor's house, which is now under police investigation. They find Tucker outside, and he had informed them that the mayor had a heart attack and drowned at the same time in the kids' pool. The police say that the mayor had a heart attack because he was so old and fell in the kids' pool. It was just 1 foot deep kids' pool. The next day, when Gilbert was with his friends, Bobby concluded that the death of the mayor could occur from natural causes, which means the mayor's family, including Betty, will receive a huge sum from the insurance. Meanwhile, Ellen just entered class and she sees the teacher holding her shoes. She asked for the shoes back, but the teacher refused and burned them. The teacher told Ellen that she's doing this so her mother starts worrying for you, but before Ellen could say anything, the teacher told Ellen to go to the detention for no reason. A few hours later, Gilbert and Arnie joined Becky to the lake. Gilbert and Becky enter the lake, but Arnie, who still has a phobia of the water, refuses to swim, and they have a fun time afterward. Gilbert and Becky lie on the grass to dry their clothes. Becky asked Gilbert what his dream was. Gilbert told Becky that he wants to start his family and build a house for his family. Gilbert said, I want Mama to go through the fat cutening surgery, go back to modeling, and lose weight. I want my older sister not to be so overwhelmed. I want my younger sister to grow up quickly, and I want my brother to be smart. From start to finish, he never fought about himself, only his family. While they're talking, Gilbert and Becky notice Arnie had disappeared and has fled to the water tower again. He panics and looks for Arnie. Then he notices a couple of police cars and a fire truck passing by. When Gilbert saw a police car and a fire truck, he had a bad feeling. It turns out Arnie had climbed the water tower again, but this time Arnie had climbed to the top of the tower and they had to call the fire department because he was too stubborn to go down. Dozens of people watched the incident, and there was also Ellen watching and her entire school. It took them a crane to get Arnie down and rescue Arnie, which cost a staggering $15,000. Despite Gilbert's apologies, the police don't accept it and they arrest Arnie and they lock him up in jail. Gilbert couldn't do anything about it. But Arnie, the one getting arrested, he thought it was a fun game. The police took Arnie to the station where he stood there in jail, confused and excited. He didn't understand what he did wrong. When Gilbert returned home from Becky's place and Ellen returned home from school, he told the family what happened and the total $15,000, which put the family into further debt. Bonnie is worried sick for her son. Gilbert had a word with the police to talk about his brother's arrest. Frustrated, Bonnie decides to put actions into her own hands. She forced her children to drive her to the police station, and for the first time in 7 years she left the house. The kids were surprised, but then settled down. After they got into the car leans one side owing to her weight on the way to the station. Because of the mother's weight, the car jolted to one side and the car weighed down by her to the point of tiling. The family went to save Arnie, who got arrested by the police. When they arrived, Gilbert ran inside the police station first and he tries to fix the problem. Bad Bonnie still got out of the car. Local children stared at her and they were some of Ellen's bullies looking at her. That's when the people saw her and how much she had changed because of her depression. She didn't really have a firm grip on living in reality, and even her poor physical condition didn't help her realize how fat she'd become. Now she began to see it. Her appearance shocking the town into silence. People stare, spread rumors, whisper, and a few are taking pictures, but Bonnie doesn't care. She cares about her son. Gilbert tried to bail Arnie out of jail, but the police officer and the sheriff refused to bail Arnie out. The police explain why they can't let Arnie go, because he never stops climbing the water tower. Suddenly, Bonnie arrives and screams at the police for holding her son. In every step she took, objects would start shaking and there were huge cracks on the floor of the station due to her weight. Sheriff Jerry didn't see Bonnie in years. He didn't expect to see Bonnie here. He felt small, like an ant. He was shocked by the size of the woman who demanded the police to return the son to her. Bonnie gets angry and blames them for treating Arnie this way given his condition, and then Bonnie does something she has not done in 7 years. She fights for her child. She demands the police that they bail him out and the police obey. Turns out women were terrifying and Bonnie even threatens to eat the officers if they don't release Arnie. Seeing Bonnie's large body and aggressive behavior, the police get scared and he orders them to bail Arnie. Bonnie hugged her son and asked him never to run away again. He promised he would never run away again or climb the water tower again, but the damage is done. The whole town knows Bonnie exists. As soon as they all return to the car, the entire town gathers, and even Ellen's entire school gathers, and everyone stares at Bonnie and makes fun of her obesity. And a swarm of journalists chase after them. Children are laughing at Bonnie. Ellen's bullies and the teachers are laughing at Ellen, her family, and Bonnie. Others are honestly staring at Bonnie. Bonnie's relatives and family members are staring at Bonnie and her children. Journalists and reporters are chasing after them. The townspeople are staring at Bonnie. And a photographer took a photo of Bonnie and published it on a magazine. The family returns to the car feeling bad for how the people ridiculed their mother. The whole family was so upset. This incident was so traumatizing for Bonnie that she couldn't look at Arnie and doesn't speak to him for days because what he did was unforgivable. The family remained silent. On their way home, the mother finally understood the children's feelings of injustice and inferiority. Bonnie, humiliated, retreats into herself even more, refusing to eat or talk. The whole family was so upset because Arnie had put the family into further debt, and the family and Bonnie being the laughingstock of Andorra. When they all got home, the mother seems distressed and refuses to eat anything for days because of the trauma. For the first time in a very long time, Bonnie lost her appetite, losing her appetite even for her favorite foods. Children continue to peek through the windows, wanting to see the town's fattest woman with their own eyes, but Ellen angrily threw food to break the window and chased them away. And Ellen didn't go to school for days because of the incident. Bonnie's spirit becomes the talk of the town, and Becky and her grandma had heard about what have happened. After dinner, Gilbert heads over to Becky's circus. Becky is glad that Arnie is okay, and they are amazed at Bonnie for her courage to bail Arnie out. Becky told Gilbert that she wants to marry Gilbert, and they want to meet Bonnie in person. Gilbert explains that their love cannot happen because his mother hates outside people, but Gilbert and Becky embrace each other in a kiss. The next day, the Grape family attends the mayor's funeral. After the ceremony, Betty told Gilbert that her entire family are moving to St. Louis to begin a new life because the people of Andorra are accusing her and her family for her grandfather's death because of a giant insurance policy. She then leaves and tells Gilbert that she hopes her future children become like him when they grow up, and she leaves. Gilbert understands, but while all of this is happening, Gilbert realizes the truth. His mother is not gonna live much longer if she kept on living like that. She's also trapped in her prison just like he is, but while she chose to stop moving, Gilbert chose to keep moving forward. He didn't know what else to do, guys. He couldn't control them, and he couldn't watch his mother all day. All he could do was sit there and watch, and finally what has to come will come. The next day, Gilbert and Arnie go to Becky's circus, and dozens of people come to see the circus that has performed at their town. After the circus, they go to the opening of the new restaurant called Burger Barn, where Tucker's one of the first employees. Becky told Gilbert that her and her grandma are leaving Andorra tomorrow. Now her RV has been repaired. Everyone was celebrating the opening of the restaurant, but Gilbert didn't enjoy it or celebrate. He just stood there and watched the fun. Arnie invited Becky to his birthday party tomorrow. She promised she would come tomorrow. Gilbert understands and says goodbye to Becky. But Becky understands Gilbert that he's upset. It's like he refuses to be happy, but for now he has to solve a problem to bathe his disobedient brother. When Gilbert and Arnie returned home, the Grape family is busy preparing for Arnie's 18th birthday party tomorrow. But Arnie refuses to take a bath because of his phobia, so Gilbert chases him around the house, and Arnie was running around the house. Amy is baking the cake while Gilbert is struggling to get a hold of Arnie to give him a bath. Arnie knocks into Amy and destroys the birthday cake, upsetting Amy. Arnie didn't even apologize and ran outside to play. Amy cries because everything is ruined. It took her a long time to make the cake. She doesn't have enough time to make a new one. After all, what is a birthday party if we're not going to have the cake? So the family had to buy a new one, which cost $20. When Gilbert returned home with the cake, he warned Arnie not to eat it and prepares for the celebration the next day. Bonnie isn't sure she has the courage to go up to the guests. Bonnie refuses to go outside during the party because the people would laugh at her if she did. She said she could see everything through the windows and from her couch. While the family was busy arguing, Arnie had broke his promise and inhaled the cake. In a few minutes, they found him covered in frosting, and the family was so angry with Arnie, and Gilbert tries so hard to force Arnie to take a bath. But Arnie refuses to take a bath and continue to play. Arnie stubborn and doesn't listen to anyone at all. Fed up with his childish behavior, Gilbert gets angry and beats him up for the first time. Punched Arnie in the face until he bled. He then feels guilty and runs away, and Arnie does the same. Arnie was no less than sad. Gilbert, who loved and always protected Arnie, became a different person that night. Gilbert left the Andorra, the town, for the first time in 7 years. He wanted to escape this place forever, escaped this family, as if leaving here would bring the dawn of hope. Gilbert planned to leave Andorra, but luckily his car ran out of gas. Gilbert believes he's literally stuck, trapped in a life that's slowly eating him up, and he could not stand this endless family routine that didn't bring him any happiness. Gilbert cries and realizes what he did was bad. He felt like his all-time low, like he was being sucked into a black hole and would never be able to get free. He felt alone and cold. He avoided growing close with them. He avoided letting his emotions show. He hated everyone. He hated the people who cried for him, who gave him dirty looks when they saw his home life, who ridiculed his mother, who bullied his sister. Ellen Ann told her she was better off not being here, the people who told him how strong he was, because really he felt so weak and helpless. Meanwhile, Amy and Ellen also went out to search for Arnie, who ran away. In the meantime, Arnie also runs to Becky's circus where they treat his injuries, and the two of them go swimming together, which helps him get over his phobia of water. Gilbert watches them from a distance, and Amy and Ellen found Arnie and bring him home. Arnie also apologized to Amy for ruining the birthday cake, and they forgive each other. After that, Becky notices Gilbert hiding in the bushes and approaches. He told Becky how he didn't mean to hurt Arnie and explains about his frustration and sadness with her. Becky understood that Gilbert is just tired as the burden of looking after the family has fallen on his shoulders. After all, she knows Arnie should not be hit by any circumstances. They hugged. Gilbert couldn't hold back his tears and told her he had nowhere to go. The usual tough guy cried like a child. Later, Gilbert and Becky sat near the campfire and talked. Gilbert told Becky how his mother pulled him, Amy, and Arnie out of school because they have to take care of their mother. After the mother was shocked by the death of the husband, who abandoned them without even saying goodbye, taking his life by hanging himself in the basement of their house. The mother stopped them from going to school because the children were forced to look after her. The mother stopped modeling and stopped leaving the house and gained hundreds and thousands of pounds, becoming bedbound for the last 7 years. They were forced to cancel family trips. Gilbert learned early that the mother's emotions in the house came first, second, and third, but Gilbert remained strong and looked after his family. But before that, Gilbert had everything in life: a mother, a father, a brother and sisters, a home and happiness. He had a bond with them, one he never thought would be taken from him, but everything changed in an instant. Now Gilbert has to work extra hours just to feed his mother. Gilbert also explains about his father's death and his mother's life before becoming obese. Moments later, Becky's grandma fixed Gilbert's car, and Gilbert and Becky kiss and spend the night sleeping under the stars together, and passion arose between them. The next day, they woke up on the grass. Gilbert returns home because today is Arnie's birthday. Dozens of guests were invited to the party. The guests came really crowded. There was the whole town, Ellen's entire school, Bonnie's family, relatives. Some Disney mascots also came to the party. Sheriff Jerry and his family was also invited to the party. Hundreds of guests were invited to the party. The party was already in full swing. Gilbert still feels bad, but Arnie and the sisters embrace him and they make up and they forgive each other. Gilbert and Arnie, the two brothers, playfully rolled on the ground, finally reconciling. Ellen also apologized to Gilbert for being so mean to him, and tears were streaming down her face. She apologized because she was overwhelmed with school, but Gilbert embraced Ellen and forgave her, saying he would love her no matter what. After that, Gilbert enters the house to speak with Bonnie, who's embarrassed to go outside. She didn't dare go outside because she knew that the people would laugh at her and embarrassing her children and ruining the birthday party. Too ashamed to face the world after what happened at the police station, even though today it's her son's birthday, and despite having huge plans to celebration, Gilbert entered the house to speak with Bonnie. Said he was sorry for his bad behavior. Bonnie asked Gilbert to look after Arnie in the future because Arnie is a special kid with special needs. But Gilbert comforted her. But still, the woman scolded Gilbert. He had beaten the innocent boy who didn't know how to fight back and disappeared just like their father 7 years ago. She regards herself as a burden and starts blaming herself, saying she only brought shame and humiliation to the family and that the children were ashamed of her. And she only brought bullying to Ellen, but she told Gilbert that she never wanted to become like this. She cries and grabs Gilbert in her arms, begging him never them to leave again. The party was awesome. Everyone was having fun during the party. Amy tells Gilbert that she's going to become a baker in Des Moines and she plans to take Ellen with her. Gilbert feels happy for Anne, tells her not to worry and he will take care of Arnie. Later, Tucker informs Gilbert that the foundation of their house was too slanted and this can be a serious issue if it was left like this, and that the house is in danger of collapsing. Their conversation had to be interrupted because Becky and her grandma had arrived at the party and Becky came with a gift for Arnie. And Gilbert decides to introduce Becky and her grandma to his mother. But when it's about to be done, Bonnie refuses and doesn't let Gilbert marry Becky. She's afraid that Becky and her grandma would laugh at her and she would be embarrassing Gilbert. But Gilbert told her that Becky and her grandma are nice people and there are a lot of nice people out there outside of Andorra. After agreeing, Becky and her grandma went inside and they became acquaintance. No staring, no laughing, no whispering. Becky and her grandma went to see Gilbert's mother with respect and she liked Becky and her grandma. Arnie's 18th birthday party was a success. After the party was over, Becky and her grandma had to leave and she kissed Gilbert bidding goodbye. She bid farewell to Arnie and Gilbert, and Becky hoped to see each other soon. After the party was over and all of the guests left, Bonnie decides to put actions into her own hands. The whole family watch in disbelief because their mother went up the stairs and entered her room, something she had not done in 7 years. After entering her room, she asks her kids to put her into bed and she asked him to bring the birthday boy to her. Bonnie told her children that she's going to turn her life around and lose the weight, and it was all thanks to Becky for helping Gilbert's family. Bonnie also thanked her children for everything they've done for the family. Bonnie thanked Gilbert for taking care of their family. He was like a knight in his shimmering armor. A few minutes later, the children were cleaning up after the party was over and Arnie entered the room and tries to wake Bonnie, but she remains still. Although he believes she's playing a joke on him, he understands Bonnie died. Heart attack because of her weight. She was just on the bed like normal and then gone. When he found out that his mother wasn't there, Arnie cried and didn't understand. Arnie ran into the street and had a tantrum while Amy and Gilbert held him and asked him what was wrong. Then all four children entered her room and they mourned their mother's death, but to be honest, they were not surprised. Their mother's appearance and lifestyle for many years was the most absurd sign of awaiting death due to obesity. Frustration overtook them. How to do it? Getting their mother out of the house, lowering their mother from downstairs. Sometime later, the police show up and they informed Amy and Gilbert that more help will be required to get Bonnie out of the house due to her weight. They also told them that they might need the National Guard to get Bonnie out of the house or the bodybuilders. Gilbert went so far he knew it will take a crane to get their mother out of the house. Ellen starts to cry and said there will be the entire town and Ellen's entire school and they will radical Bonnie. Ellen cried, said they will laugh at their mom again, but they will only come tomorrow. Gilbert did not know what to do anymore and he ends up destroying the basement in an emotional breakdown. Gilbert did not want his mother to be the butt of jokes because their mother was also human, someone no one should laugh at. He decided to let his mother's body and this house be together forever. He comes back to find his sisters and he tells them his plan and they agree with him. A crazy plan was made that night. That night, the family packed their suitcases and removed all the valuables from the home, and when they're done, Gilbert set the house on fire. The children watch as their mother is cremated and burned to ashes in her own house. She never wanted to leave resting place for the very last time. They will burn this house to the ground along with their mother. The wooden structure instantly burned. To Arnie's joy, they watched as the flames engulfed every room in the house. The house was burnt that had held them for all these years. All hidden pain turned to ashes. The children watched their mother reunite with their father in heaven, and the town watches as the flames lit the sky. Their mother never to be laughed at by outsiders again, and the fire erased the house. A year had passed. Arnie approaches his 19th birthday. Amy became a baker and found a better life in the big city, and she's starting a new family while Ellen dropped out of school and went with Amy, and now Ellen is following her dreams. As for Gilbert and Arnie, Gilbert married Becky and they had children, and Arnie became an uncle and they became a happy family in the circus. The end. The movie was written and directed by Lasse Hallström, starring Johnny Depp and Leonardo DiCaprio. Johnny Depp plays Gilbert and Leonardo DiCaprio plays Arnie. The movie was also based on the novel by Peter Hedges. This film doesn't really tell us the importance of family ties and understanding support with people with mental disabilities. What Gilbert did to Arnie taught him that being a good brother is even better than being a superhero. The film was an Oscar contender from 1993, is a thought-provoking and unexpectedly moving drama about one young man's life in a small American town. Has anyone ever experienced this with your relatives or loved ones? How did you deal with it, and did it work? I hope you never faced any of the problems that his family did, but maybe you need to share your stories in the comments below, and do not forget to take care of others.